Hello and welcome back to McClaren Performance for an episode today where I want to talk about something that has kind of been on my mind for a week or two now. And that is the often strained relationship between a manager and a player that wants to do a certain thing, the manager that wants to play a certain way. What is the right or wrong way to deal with that? It's an interesting question, so I'll look at today. It's the narrative in the media that's come up quite a lot now, in a lot of different situations. It's the manager versus the player, going against each other, falling out with each other, drama ensuing from that. That's what is at least being reported from the outside. And say with Ten Hag and Ronaldo, a lot of people have talked about that situation. I can't say a lot of those conversations have really been that informative. But the first thing I thought really, and I've had it for a few weeks now, a month or so, is to see and having a bit of that insight into, say, Ten Hag, a top manager, and really managers that say in the top four of the Premier League. A trait that they all have. They're so stubborn and so in their way that this is how we play. They implement a way of playing and they do not and rarely deviate from that. Pep Guardiola, Klopp at Liverpool, Conte now at Spurs also. They play a certain way, and regardless of the noise coming from outside or even inside, they play that way all the time. Erik Ten Hag is certainly that character, and you can really see that just from the outside anyway, the way that the team played at the start of the season, to gradually, through the past few games, really seeing exactly how they are going to play, and how they do play, and how it's changed so much from Erik Ten Hag, keeping his sessions the same. This is how we play. It continues on, and the team develops from that. He has not adapted to the players that are there to play in a certain way, something that I think from the outside has been suggested to do quite a lot. And that's often what a manager does do. For example, say my dad going into a job somewhere, he would most likely adapt to the players that are there. Yes, he has a way of playing as something that he wants to implement, but ultimately you have to get results and you have to adapt to the qualities that are there in the team. Arteta at Arsenal, I think obviously another good example of that, being at Arsenal now for 3-4 seasons, having a way of wanting to play, being very determined to set that into place, and you can really see that coming into fruition now this season, with that specific example as well of Aubameyang, being that big ego, being narcissistic, being in the way of what Arteta wants to do, and then because of that, then leaving the team. Seeing that video as well, talking about Aubameyang talking after leaving Arsenal, talking about how Arteta wasn't a manager who could deal with big egos, couldn't deal with the likes of Aubameyang, had to recruit younger players to listen to what he had to say and do what he wanted them to do. He didn't really put Aubameyang in the best light, especially now that he's gone to Chelsea, and that looks like he's adapting being there as well. But it throws up an interesting question from him, his perspective, Aubameyang's perspective, that is, that he is this big senior player, older player. He should have some say in what is going on, and the fact that the manager doesn't listen to that, doesn't give him any leeway, puts the manager in the wrong and makes the player and puts him in the right, really. It's an interesting perspective that he has, and obviously the manager has an opposite perspective to that. This is the way that I play. You turn up at this time, you do this, and if you don't do that, you don't respect the values and the standards that we have, then you're no longer a part of the team. And it's I'd say somewhat similar situation to Manchester United at the moment. Erik Ten Hag has a way in which he wants to play. Ronaldo does not fit that way. Not in I don't think a similar way in which Aubameyang was very personal in terms of not turning up on time, having his own way of doing things. I think it's more so a player fitting into a way of playing where you have Rashford who will make that movement up front and do the things more so that suits the style of Erik Ten Hag, and Ronaldo doesn't have that ability maybe to do so. And we all know what's happened from that. Ronaldo's been left out. He's left the game early. He's had a punishment for that, being left out of the game. He's now back in again. Kind of not that dramatic, but obviously it being Ronaldo, it's talked about quite a lot. And I guess it is quite an interesting development, interesting situation. What is right, what is wrong in that instance? Obviously a lot of pundits say, like Roy Keane, ex-players, coincidentally people that know Ronaldo, talking about how he should adapt, the manager should adapt to Ronaldo, should make him play, make him start, and utilise what Ronaldo is, because he scores goals. I mean, Roy Keane made the argument that Ronaldo scored so many goals last season, he should be playing now. Man United aren't doing so well now, with Ronaldo not being in. But if I do remember rightly, last season Man United finished 6th with Ronaldo playing the majority of games, and now this season they're 5th, also much closer at this point to being in the top four than they were last season. It seems like they're in a better situation with Ronaldo not starting. So it's not the best argument that Roy Keane made, really, or anyone's really made. I think a lot of fans side with the manager in this case because they can see the style of play that's coming to fruition. They can see better performances from the team as a whole. But it's something there that's interesting as well. What is the right way of handling that situation? Do you adapt to the team that you have? Do you adapt and manage the egos of the players that you do have? You can really be critical of Ten Hag. To be fair, you could say that he has not managed the ego of Ronaldo and not utilised it for the team. Look, management that adapts and suits players with egos, that's not a unique thing. That's not something new. That's something that managers do all the time. Actually, really successful managers do it all the time. I think Carlo Ancelotti is a fantastic example of that. There's a great book me and my dad read quite a while ago called Quiet Leadership, but he's also known as the diva whisperer. He is very good at managing the egos of the people that are working above him and the players that are working below him as well, and from that he can quietly lead a team. For example, with PSG also, there's a lot of egos in that team as well. Specifically, there's one ego with regards to Kylian Mbappe and situations there where he's been part of a pivot, part of a front three playing centrally, something that he is not happy with, something that he has made an Instagram story hinting very heavily that he is not happy with. And with that, a manager that has come out and sympathised with Mbappe rather than punishing him for the comments that he is making. That is something where other managers may punish that behaviour, lose that relationship with the player, but the manager there has chosen to try and maintain that relationship and utilise the talent that he has there in Mbappe. I was listening to a podcast with Ryan Holiday, and Ryan Holiday is all about stoicism, and something that he was talking about was the management of ego, and something I read about with regards to narcissism. Managing narcissists, managing people with ego, is creating environments where they can get the glory that they want. Create an environment where the player feels like they are being treated well. They feel like they have freedom in what they are doing, but in reality, the manager is in control of the situation. And now from there, maybe there is more of a valid criticism for managers like Arteta, managers like Ten Hag. Yes, they have a way of playing and they want to implement that, and so they should. But can they be more emotionally intelligent? Can they better manage the egos and narcissists within their team to make them feel rewarded in feeling like they're doing what they want to be doing, but in reality, almost manipulating them in that situation to make them happy, but also have them doing what the manager wants them to do? For example, Arteta, has that fallen out with Aubameyang. San Jesus, who's now a fantastic striker and fills that role probably a bit better. But you could argue that Arteta could have maintained a good relationship with Aubameyang and kept him playing and had a striker in him. The question for me is really, how much does a manager give in to the players that he has? How much does a manager adapt his way of playing, adapt his style, adapt his relationships in a way he engages with players? Does he stay very stubborn in, this is how we play, I'm Erik Ten Hag, I'm Arteta, this is how I want my team to be with regards to values and principles and actually how we act on the pitch and what we do on the pitch? Or do we adapt tactically, value-wise, everything towards the team that is already there to quickly get players on board? It's been really interesting to think about because, of course, my first thought is to defend Ten Hag, and still in a lot of ways I do in what he is doing. But to be in that situation in the first place, could the manager be more emotionally intelligent? Could he sway somewhat to Ronaldo, the player that is already there? It's an argument you could make. Maybe I'm not in the best position to say that's the right way to do things, because I think Ten Hag is doing things the right way. You can see it in the performances. If, say, a Carlo Ancelotti was manager of Manchester United, would he have been in that situation anyway, where he was benching Ronaldo, where he was upsetting Ronaldo to the point where he'd walk off? I'm not entirely sure, that would be the case. I think he'd probably be the diva whisperer. He'd keep Ronaldo happy. You know what? It's a really tricky one. And it's why I don't like people's opinions coming out. Ten Hag's done the wrong thing. Ten Hag's done the right thing. I can't imagine Ten Hag probably knows if he's done the right thing or not. It's just a matter of choosing what you think is best and then moving forward with that. Yes, you could be that adapting manager, adapt to the players there. You could be the arm around the shoulder of Ronaldo, give him what he wants, and maybe you could get results from that. But you can also see with Ten Hag's way of doing it, you can also get results from doing that as well. I don't think there is a right or wrong, and I'm no mind reader or fortune teller to say this is exactly what he should have done. I don't think any of us are. It's just interesting, those different styles of management, both of them being successful in different environments, and neither of them being the right or the wrong way. I have to say also, the narrative around it of players versus managers, dramatic, butting heads and everything like this, I just don't think that's the case. I don't think it's that dramatic. I think it's just changes in a team and things happening, and quite rightly conflict and conversations about what is right or wrong for the future of the team. It makes sense to me. Sometimes conflict is a good thing. I've talked about this before, I must have, where conflict, some aspects of conflict, social conflict, not good, but task conflict, absolutely fantastic. We've evolved as human beings because of conflict. And from conflict, we've got smarter, we've got better. It's why we play sport. We get smarter and better in our team because we're competing against other people. And that can happen within teams also. You can have conflict. You can butt heads. And from that, you get better ideas and better understanding. You develop better as a team. This sort of drama, this conflict, in some ways a good thing, believe it or not. And it will be better for the development of the team. But yeah, that's just a summary of my thoughts on that sort of manager-player relationship, kind of sparked by Ten Hag and Ronaldo, but I think relates to a lot of football, and I think a lot of managers and players. It's a situation that happens all the time. Let me know what you think on my thoughts on that, that it's more complex, that there is no real right or wrong. Is Ten Hag doing the right thing in that situation? I think so. There's other ways to do it, but the way in which he's doing it is working, I think. So yeah, leave a comment if you could. Like the video if you could, leave a review on the podcast if you could. I hope you're enjoying the videos, still trying to keep them up as much as I possibly can, and I will see you again next week.